Parramatta Eels, Supercoach team preview. First of all, the pictures, they're the first ones I've seen that actually had the 2024 player profiles on. So that was okay, apart from the fact that I hate their jerseys. So I hate our
Doesn't look
jersey. I'm a
bad there.
Para fan.
I don't think it looks too
That's
bad
because
there.
it's on Dylan Brown, who I would put
Yeah.
as one of the sexiest men in the league. I think he's very underrated. But anyway, that's when he's not going out to nightclubs and getting up to mischief. But we move on straight away. The fullback position, again, it's Gutho, 807K, 2% ownership average, 79 in 23 games last year. He just seems to play week in, week out. He did get a knock last game against the Panthers, though, which has prevented him from having a huge off season. I know he's been restricted in a lot of the things he can do, which I think that's the first time in a long time he hasn't been able to do a proper preseason. So I don't know how much that will impact Gutho, but he's generally a fitness freak. So going off the first 5 games as well, I haven't finished yet, so that's not a bleach of the hair. So I didn't forget the Bulldogs round 1, Penrith round 2, Manly round 3, the Tigers round 4, and the Raiders round 5. So not bad. That's not a bad one. I just feel like at the moment with the players around 807K for a consistent Gutho, and when we say consistent, there we're probably talking probably that 70 odd mark would be a consistent sort of year. I just don't think he's Supercoach relevant at the moment.
No, I would have thought you'd be all over it. I think 2% ownership's criminal.
I was, because it is a decent start to the season.
Yeah,
so I feel
it's
like
really good. It's really good. He's Mr. Consistent.
I will come out and say, as a Para fan, I do not like to mix my team I support with Supercoach. I try and steer clear so it's not too much emotion for me. So that might be coming into play a little bit. So it might be better for you to comment on a lot of these players because I'll be doing it a bit biased. Do you see him as a play?
I had Gutho I think I had Gutho more than any fullback last year because I did have a fair few of them rotating. Man, he killed it. He was so good to have last season. I couldn't believe the scores I was getting out of him. Like, I was, 130s and 20s, 110s, like almost every other week. Everything was a minimum 80. I was like, this is unbelievable. This is Gutherson that we're talking about. And like, whether it was because Dylan Brown wasn't there and he, stepped up and made that extra bit of effort out of himself, he was just everything.
Holy fuck.
Everything was Gutho, man. I couldn't believe it. Like, I put a lot of my scoring down to where I placed down to having him from quite early, man. It was mental. So I've been very tempted about it, and I see his ownership at 2%, and I'm like, that is an insane pod to have, considering what I know he can do. And whether it was just the team, it was just between Moses and Gutho, and they just kind of had to run the show together. Because I'd like to see his stats with Brown in the team. I feel like it would take a bit of a turn down, but I haven't actually put him into a team this year, and I've always looked at it, and so that 800K, when you look at 800, you're thinking you're chasing upside with your Turbos and Walsh and all these other big superstars, and you just don't put Gutho in the same bracket. And I feel like, most weeks, like you might not get the 140s out of him all the time, but he can do it. He did it last year. I just don't feel like he can tank as hard as like your Latrells and Walshes can. You know what I mean? I feel like at the very least he'll still get you that 70. But yeah, it was a very, very good year for him. Probably the best year he's had, I would say, in recent memory. I don't think he's ever averaged more than 79 seems to be his highest average that I can see. So whether he backs it up or it was just one of those years, he ended up season ranked third highest point scorer. The buy run for the Eels last year was beautiful through those major buys in those 3 rounds. So, there's always a time to get on him. I think this year they're in a very similar position. So, I think he's a play if you're looking for someone solid and reliable and, will do you a bit of a job. Obviously, he might take a bit of a downturn just because it was a career year for him in general. But, yeah, you just can't go wrong, man. It's the king.
It is. I quickly look at his scores scores from last year against the upcoming opponents. So the Dogs, 138 points and 75 points. The Panthers, 118 points and 37 points. That was that slugfest game where Cleary and Moses traded field goals. And then Manly, 132 points and 84 points. So you are making some relevant points there. And
Man, it's like
as a
130
non-Gutho,
average.
that's insane. That is absolutely, that's fucked. That is huge. Like if that's the thing. If that was, say, Pappy or Turbo or something, their ownership right now would be, I would say, in the 50s. Like it would be, everyone would be going, we need to get this person in. We need to have this guy. I just think because it's Gutho, I still think he's criminally underrated as a fullback. I feel like the club's disrespectful to him in terms of always saying we need an X Factor fullback, blah, blah, blah. He's X Factor. He can do a lot of stuff that fullbacks can do. He might not have the acceleration of like a Pappy. He may not have the step of some of the fullbacks out there, but he's improved his ball work phenomenally. He's got a great pass on him. He's like another playmaker out there. He's so good at defense.
He is.
He's a quality,
he's one of the best
fullback.
Defensive fullbacks I can think of, next to like Edwards and stuff. But you just can't fault his game, man. Really, he's kind of got it all. Like it might not be to the peak of the other guys, but when you start to grade them all, like if it was a game of Mario Kart, he's Mario. You know what I mean? Like he's going to give you B+ in kind of every single category. Yeah. So, and again, like they've got that Bulldogs game to start. Like fuck, you got to get on it. Like I reckon it could be an absolute whitewash. But then Panthers, it's kind of like it doesn't really make a big deal for the Eels. I think playing Panthers because they always give them a hard time. It's never just a walkover game out of everyone that plays the Panthers, and then they get Manly, Tigers, and the Raiders. Like, man, the temptation is there for it because those opening five, barring the Panthers, which I still feel like they could probably win, they're all really good fixtures, and you could really do something insane. So, something there.
I feel like one thing as well, we'll let everyone know as they watch and follow our journey this year for Supercoach. We love a good pod. So whenever there's a pod opportunity, we are definitely fans of those pod movements. So I'll go out there now. I would not be surprised if one of us have Gutho come round one. I'll say that now. Let's go to centre wings. Otherwise, we'll be here all night with Para. Will Penasini, 573K, 2% ownership, averaged 56.2 in 24 games last year. We currently have an owner of Will Penasini on the panel, and it's not myself. So, Jesse?
He's actually not in the team anymore. He was.
Oh, hang on, you did. Yeah, you were.
He's on my list. Yeah, he's definitely someone I'm very interested in. I don't see a great deal of upside as far as what he's priced at, but I do like his base level of consistency. And obviously the fixtures, when it just comes down to how many Eels I had in my team, Gutho wasn't one of them. Dylan Brown's not one of them. I wanted someone that I thought was going to do a bit of a job there. And he seems to just continually bang out those 50 to 70 points and anywhere in between. And then, can push up towards that 100. He got a 98 and a 104. So he had done that twice, which is okay. At 570, I didn't like anyone else around the price point. And I really like the Eels run for how long it goes for. So that was kind of the reason why with Penasini. I'm not a big fan of the entire backline, though, outside of him.
No.
I feel like it's just, it is. Coming from an Eels fan, you could probably elaborate a little bit more on how dead shit it looks. But
dog shit.
That's it, eh?
I think the backline, apart from Will Penasini, and I'm not including Gutho, I'm talking about the 2 to 5.
Yep.
I think it's actually one of the worst in the competition, if I'm being honest. I don't think there's much spark at all. Like people will then go, Sevo scores all these tries. What do you do? You can't say that. Honestly, most wingers would score the tries that he scores. It's not like he does anything. Like there's the odd try where he'll finally use his strength and realize actually how big and strong he is. But apart from that, he's not actually a very good footy IQ player. He's caught out a lot. I don't think he's very good at defense either. He's not very good at reading the play. And he's been around the game now for a while. Like people will probably try and say, he's new. He's not new anymore. He's played the game for 4 or 5 years. And at that professional level, being in and around the game every day, basically in and around the club, by
It's
now
like he
you
still
should have
hasn't got
picked
it.
up. Yeah, and the thing
Yeah.
is, you hear on the field, Gutho is constantly talking to him still to this to this day. He continues like being on-field coach for him, and
Yeah.
always he's having a go at him. Like he rides him so hard. It's so funny. But yeah, I don't think even for a super coach or an NRL point of view, any of these players in the back line are an option. Apart from, I can see your upside with Will Penasini, especially early on, just as a sort of another pod movement for a para player, an outside back. If I was to pick one, and unfortunately he's the most expensive there, I would be going Will Penasini because I can see him actually going to another level this year. I really am keen to see him play this year. And as a fan, it excites me. Unfortunately, we lost his brother this year. He's gone with an ACL already, but his brother's a really good player, and I feel like we're going to keep Will now because of them, and they'll probably build up a little bit of a combination over the years to come. But yeah, nothing in the back line excites me, so I want to move on quickly because it actually annoys,
You
it
just want to get
frustrates the
away
shit
from it.
out of me.
Oh
As
well.
if like I don't want to ramble on it because we've already had our NRL season preview and I did that. So if you want to hear as a para fan listening to this, make sure you go
Yep.
check out our para preview, and you can hear all my honest thoughts about that. Dylan Brown, 5'8", 18% ownership, 780K. I have him
You're
as
all
a
on it.
must.
Yeah,
I
you're all
have him
over
as a
him.
must. And I can't be more high on the kid this year because if he doesn't, he owes Parramatta big time. He owes us as fans massive. He owes the club. He owes the playing group. He embarrassed himself last year and he has a lot of making up to do. I still say he was, can't say the sole reason, but he was a huge reason why we didn't make the finals last year. We started to find a little bit of form and then obviously what he did happened and then we lost him and he's, the thing with Dylan Brown, and I'll try to talk about the rugby league point of view before the super coach, is his all-round 5'8" game is phenomenal. I think he has the ability to be the best 5'8" in the game for years to come. That's how highly I think of Dylan Brown. And that's just not saying that in a biased way. I genuinely do believe that because what I see from that when he plays for the Kiwis as well, I just see quality. He has a phenomenal running game. Like, it is
Yep.
ridiculous. And I feel like in a way, he's been caged up still a little bit, and I don't like that. I just want Brett Arthur to go, you know what? Go out there and just run the footy and just be everywhere. Like, I don't care. Don't stay on one side of the field. Be everywhere. Jink, step, do whatever you can because, guys, I'm telling you, go watch his highlights packages when he was a junior and that. It's freaky. Like, it's Benji Marshall-esque. That's saying a lot, but that's the sort of footwork he has, and I just think he's in for a huge year. And I know people will probably look at that price tag and go, it's too much. I said it to you the other week. I actually think he will end the year costing more than 780K. I'm happy to pick him and just ride the wave.
Yeah, I reckon he does. I haven't got him in my team at the moment, but he was in my very first team. I've got big raps on Dylan Brown too. A very high prospect on draft picks in the past. I had him. I had him years ago. Actually, I had him in 2020, sort of when he kind of broke out and actually had his first good year. And unfortunately, at the time, this is a different format. This is NRL fantasy. I had Nathan Cleary in 2020 before he really broke out too. So I had these two halves, and you can only play one of them. So I had this headache every week of trying to play Dylan Brown, and I couldn't because I had Cleary, and I had him. I let him rot on my bench, so it was a bit of a shame. But last year I had Dylan Brown in Supercoach, and I would have had him all year had he not, disappeared. So I feel like at the end of the day,
you definitely weren't going Cody Walker. So
no. Well, the thing is, I went from him down to would have been Cameron Munster, who's my next favourite 5'8" when it comes to that position. And I still feel like it's one or the other when it comes to that position. I think Munster probably might outscore him, to be honest with you, but he's got such a point to prove this year, Dylan Brown. He can't be fucking around again. Let's just put it like that. He's just had it too many times. So if he does it again, that's kind of his career finished. I think a lot of people won't take him too seriously if he keeps having all these off-field things going on. But I can't see it happening. I think he's gonna have a massive year ahead of him. They've definitely got the fixtures for it. you're probably right about his price ending higher. It's a good shout to be the highest scoring 5'8" this season. So
I don't know if you can check this, but his base stats, I think he'd
yeah,
have to be the highest base statting, not just 5'8", but playmaker. Because the defensive work he gets to, he doesn't shy away from it. He gets through a heap of work, and he's always
yeah,
there in cover defense.
yeah. His base is crazy. The amount of tackles he makes too, it's nuts. He'll be putting 20, 30 plus tackles in every single game minimum. His meters are really good as well. I'm just gonna have a look if you want to have a
Yeah,
talk about
I'll
him.
keep talking about him, and I don't know what else really to say about him that I haven't already. But we'll as I said, I want Brett Arthur to free the shackles from him. I want Mitch Moses to just completely run this side. So then that frees up Dill Brown to do what Dill Brown does best. And I can't be high enough on him, especially when I talk about the base side of things as well. I just think it makes complete sense to spend up, have him as one of your must picks to start the season with, and just work around him.
Yeah, probably gonna have to come back to this because I'm using my other phone that I haven't logged in
Nah,
with
we're
and
good. That's all
struggling.
right.
But his base is incredible, man. Like you see it all
Yeah.
the time, even when he's not doing much attacking. Like he's always still putting good numbers out. So it's a very valid pick if you're spending premium in your 5'8".
Yeah.
You just run with it and you're very, very happy about it. I think when you're doing that sort of thing. So
Yep. No,
over
I
to Dylan.
agree. Halfback time, Mitchell Moses, 695K, currently 9% ownership. And there is a question in there about Moses, an option instead of Cleary or Hines. I guess it's a good question because people are probably trying to find ways to save a little bit of cash and not go for one of the big dogs right at the start. There's a few super coaches I'm sure out there going, both of those players are just priced too high. I think otherwise, but that's people definitely have their own opinions of stuff, and they're looking at different ways to go with the start that Parramatta have. I'm not against it. The first question I want to ask you though is, if you have Dylan Brown, can you also have Mitchell Moses?
I don't think so.
No, me either.
I feel like you just don't want to double dip too hard into the halves. And like a format that I was playing with for a while too, when it came to the halves and the 5'8", was obviously Hines was locked in, and I had Dylan Brown in there as well, and I was running with the two of them. But I was finding it really hard to afford to have Cleary at the same time, as well as really building around the rest of it. And obviously, like you look at the Eels run, and Moses is a pretty good option regardless. I feel like
Yeah.
he's pretty safe. I don't feel like you're going to get explosive games out of him all the time. It's kind of like a safe pick, but he's going to do those games occasionally. So he's a good option. I can't knock it. But again, I had Brown in, so I didn't want to have both. So when you look at the two of them together as well, like he's a bit of a significant discount to Dylan Brown. And obviously he kicks and he's got that halfback upside compared to him. So, there's a point to say that even Moses might be undervalued compared to Brown, but I wouldn't have both of them. Definitely not. And if you wanted to run with a cheaper one, especially in your halves, if you didn't want to have the two guns, I think he is probably a good run to get in there just because of the fixtures and, how much he'll do in general. You probably will lose him to Origin as well this year. So that takes away his buy round appeal. But yeah, it's just risky having both half and 5'8" in the same team. You probably wouldn't have, realistically, you wouldn't have Cleary and Luai because Luai's not much of an option compared to how much Brown can do. So there's not too many teams where you can really justify having them both anyway, besides maybe Melbourne. If you want to run with Jerome Hughes, you can definitely have Munster. I still wouldn't have Hughes anyway, but that's kind of similar. No other team really has that sort of gun pairing that you want to be locked in with. So
Yeah. I feel like in a way Moses is also a weird one when it comes to Supercoach because he's one of those really busy players on the field, but it can also sometimes not equate to Supercoach points. He's one of
yeah,
those players I feel like where, and I looked at some like his past performances against the first three teams, and I know for a fact like some of the Bulldogs games and stuff where I just feel like he was everywhere. But there's an 89, which is still deep, like it's still good. But for what I remember of that game, he was like everywhere. Like that would generally feel like if it was a Clear or a Hines, it'd be like 150. And to only be like an
yeah,
89, it's sort of just he's a bit frustrating in that sort of thing. It's like he's just is missing that extra bit when it comes to the Supercoach side of things.
Yeah, he just boots the ball away every time he gets it. It's kind of what hurts him.
Yeah.
But you just sort of want him to run the ball like Brown does to give him a bit more of a chance to make some of those points. But obviously Brown's right next to him, so why would Moses do it when his management's a lot better? So I don't see that. He's probably not going to boost up too much more unless he's just getting straight assists, like stats. He might get a try here and there, but a lot of it's just going to come off try assist or a line break assist.
Yeah.
But again, it's not a bad play if you wanted to cash down. It's still 215K off
Huge.
what Cleary's going to do, and you might get those weeks where they're quite similar. So wouldn't have both. Though.
I'm happy to move on from Moses. I feel like we feel like he's probably the next best option apart from those two. But there's also a couple of other options that we spoke about last week as well. There's a guy called S. Walker who is a bit cheaper, and I feel like could do the job for you, especially early on. But again, it is a bit of a risk to try and make that cash up to then go back to one of those big guns. But I wanted to move to the second row, but quickly, I just want to quickly have a chat to you about. There's Ethan Saunders here, 204K with 1% next to his name, which I anticipated to be 0%. I want to just quickly pick your brain when it comes to halfback, because what I'm anticipating there is either Ethan has a hell of a lot of family members that play Supercoach, or it's owners who have, say, like the Hines, for instance, so they've spent real big there, and they've gone, oh shit, I need to put someone in here. And the thing that I want to mention, do not do that, because you need to have a player in there and kind of have the early buy. And even Cleary, Penrith have quite an early buy as well. So if you're hoping to pick one of those two, and no, it's quickly not Parramatta related, but if you're picking one of those two and going for another option at halfback, make sure that other halfback is going to come in and actually get you points for when that buy is happening for either Cleary or Hines, because you're going to quickly get yourself in a massive hole.
Yeah, 1%, it looks like they're just trying to fill in with the absolute bottom dollar, but the halfback spot is not the position to be doing that in. Not even close, man. You got players that, like Cleary and Hines, those guys will win you rounds. They'll score 100 minimum of rounds most of the time, and you're giving it away just to put a cashy down there so you can afford to field a team. But it's just the worst possible position to do it in, I think. You never play someone, because you never get away from him too. Like you're stuck with him forever. You're stuck. There's nowhere to go from there. When you're going from Moses, it's still in, like, it's a little bit off. You're still 200K away, but you've got more of a chance, much more of a chance. It's not that hard, really. If you have one of your center wings boost up, or one of your cash second rowers has gone through the roof, and you want to just make that swap, it's pretty easy to do. I feel like when you go down to Sam Walker, it might be a little bit harder. It might take you a little bit longer, because it's, potentially maybe 350, 400K by then. So who knows? But obviously you're hoping on them to go up. Man, when you're at 200, it's just pack it up. You're not going anywhere from 200. You're going to die with him. So don't do that.
If change your team around, at least get Caesar. At least get someone who's going to be playing and looks to at least be getting like a 40 or maybe 45 a week at some point. So that's an extra. I think Caesar's 140K extra or something like that. So at least look at getting at least a scoring player, because that's gonna kill you that week that you have either Clear or Hines who have the bye and you're trying to play Ethan Saunders. It's not going to work, because he's not going to be playing. It's just it's a no go.
Could you imagine the team they've got though? If they don't have Cleary and Hines, obviously, because that's the case.
Yeah.
Where the hell is the rest of that money spread out that you need to get 200K halfback?
That would be the craziest looking team and stuff, I reckon.
Oh, that'd have to be. You've got Grant and Marshall King. You've got David Fafita and Tino. Like, it's just everything. Just chuck them all in. Who cares? That's mental.
Good old Ethan. For the year after, if he does end up going to the Raiders, he's definitely an option then that I'll be looking for. But that is a 2025 chat we will have. Second row forwards, Jermaine Hopgood, 748K. Currently 8% ownership still. So even at that hefty price tag, there is people that aren't put off. Maybe it's the Ethan Sanders owners that are giving themselves some free cash that they're going straight over to Hopgood. But Hopgood for mine, it hurts me to see this price tag. Like, in a way, I'm proud but as a Supercoach owner, it just hurts because
Yeah.
I can't get in there, and that's just
No.
yeah. After
No.
knowing the start he had last year as well,
Yeah,
it
it's a
sucks.
shame. But, you know, he had a good run last year, obviously. You know, if you want to spend big, you can. He came out with 101 and 124, and then I captained him, and he scored 45 points and fucking shit me. Like everyone else
Everyone
captained
did.
him. Everyone did. So, you know, we all rode the same train there. But, man, what a player. What an absolute gun signing it was for him last season. Obviously, he's priced right up there with the big dogs because he is. He's a big dog. I just reckon he keeps doing it. If you want to spend big, you can get him. But obviously, last year, man, what did he start at? 230?
Don't
No,
say
298. 298. Oh, God bless.
it's enough to make a
So
grown
good.
man cry.
Yeah. And you know what? I threw him straight to the starting lineup, too.
Yeah, me too.
I had him like right in there with the three. He was right in there. It's like, I can't find anyone for 300K now that I want to play confidently. That's going to come
Yeah.
out and score 100 and, 120 odd in the first round. Like, it just burns. But yeah, it's a shame. He's too much. He's too much at the moment. I can't afford him. If I was to, I'd be looking at other options anyway. But oh
Yeah.
well, gone are the days.
Oh
We'll
well.
always remember Hop God.
Party. Yeah, I mean the hop of the God variety. Just I'll still be watching. I'll still be following. 73.3 average last year in 24 games. And that was his first full NRL
Yeah,
season. So I
chance
see
he
him
improves.
getting better. I see him
Yeah,
getting better, but I don't know. I can't start with that. The Cardi Party, 636K, 1% ownership, and Madison 636K are both exactly the same. 1%
yeah.
ownership, both averaged 62.3 last year. Maddo 6 less games. I can't touch any of those two, so I'm not gonna really
Again,
entertain the fact.
not at the price. No, I started with him too. I had both of them, Hopgood and Cartwright. Both of them cost me 550, and I had him the whole season, all the way through. I thought, far out, man. There's nothing like that anymore. You know, like that's why it's such a shit go. You can't spread the coin around as easily. We're blessed with these two.
You never know. Maybe just keep an eye on
Well,
trials,
that's the
keep an eye
thing.
on
We
team
haven't
lists.
seen anything yet. But you know, it seems so obvious with Cartwright. 238, starting second rower for the foreseeable future. You know, I don't see why his ownership wasn't higher last year, considering the amount of upside that there was. Obviously, hesitations and all, but
And he played every game. He was
he played
consistent.
every
So
game. He was just a
how
beast,
good is
man.
that?
Yeah,
One player I want to talk about, 38% ownership. Here we go. Shaun Lane,
yep,
446K. Averaged 43.7 last year through 10 matches. That was injury riddled. He just never seemed to be actually on the field. Even when he was on the field, he just sort of just couldn't get going. I've got him in my team purely off the fact that I got Dylan Brown. So I feel like those two are going to work perfectly together on the edge. If I've gone all in on Brown, I feel like I have to go all in on Shaun Lane. There's definitely other options around, probably cheaper options as well. But I just think it's a redemption kind of year for Shaun Lane. He obviously wouldn't have been happy last year with his performances, with the injuries and the like, the club's performances as well. The year before, he was arguably one of the best second rows in the competition. He was getting tossed around for representative football.
yep,
Surely a player of that caliber has to get back to that sort of footballing ability this year. So I think Lane's a play.
yeah. I can't see any reason not to have him. 22, he averaged 68.8. If you can get even close to that, there's automatic upside. He's priced off such a low average, and it's just an injury affected one. And they were just shit injuries, broken jaw. I think he got knocked out, or he did a bunch of random stuff, and it just never seemed to tick for him throughout the whole season. He'd come back, and then something would happen, and it was just all broken. But now it's expected that he's just going to be fully fit, like hopefully he should be, and he'll just go straight back into that starting second row position where he belongs. And again, yeah, absolutely nothing saying he can't just go back to averaging 68 points at all. So, yeah, 38% is fair. Their run is obviously great. We've spoken it. I'm surprised it's not higher, to be honest. No, when you see 38, like don't try and overthink the room. Just get him. There's no point getting left behind if it does go well. You don't want to be anti-potting it, so just get him.
I agree there. Kalma Tuolangi, 1% ownership, 373k. No option at the moment. It's come over from Manly. Obviously Parramatta, if a fully fit forward pack, I don't even see him making the actual 17, if I'm being honest. So maybe might nab a bench spot, but it'll be very, very limited minutes, if any minutes. We've seen Brad Arthur in the past just stick with, if Lane and Cardi are fully fit, he'll just push them for 80 minutes week in, week out. That's the sort of style he likes to play for Parramatta. The rest, I can't really talk too much about. I'm not really interested in Offahengawi, who's dual front row. Makatoa, no. Dury, no. The rest, no. The only one that I will talk about, Luca Moretti. I'm really excited to see him. I liked what I've seen from him last year. 10 games. He only averaged 23, but there was a few games there where he got literally like a few minutes, which hurt that average. He's a very energetic player. He's up and about. He's another one of those sort of Tallis Duncan type players where he'll just come on and be everywhere. So I do like that. I would be more keen on looking at him. He hasn't got a duel, which is unfortunate, but I'd be more keen at 238k to sort of look at him when one of the other starters get injured, because there'll be a bit more game time for him. But he's a watch. He's a watch for mine. I just wanted to make a note because I do like his style of play and him as a player. And I think he will get maybe a bench spot.
Yeah, really good points per minute. Obviously, just needs the minutes. Might be something that I don't know how long he's contracted for. Could be something a few years in the future. But
1.5. Holy shit!
Yeah, his points per minute's insane. But again, like he plays 20 minutes, goes out there and just goes ballistic, comes off. He's fully fresh when everyone else is buggered. So you expect it. But it could be something good for him. He might get a run here or there, but I wouldn't still be going that way for him. So
that's it for second rowers. Front row forward. Junior Barlow, whatever, that's the way he wants it said now. 2% ownership, 2023 average of 56.5 through 20 matches. He just wasn't himself last year. And I don't know if, pains me to say, I don't know if we've seen his best footy now. I'm not sure. I need to see how he comes out this year before I even entertain the idea of putting Parlow anywhere near my Supercoach side. So he's a no. RCG, Regan Campbell Gillard, 1%, 518 is a no for mine as well. It's just too many other front rowers around that are cheaper and I feel like are better and guaranteed probably better minutes. But one thing I know for Brad Arthur is he pushes these two so much. They're on big coin, so he wants to get value for money. There's a lot of Para fans out there, myself included, that don't agree. I think he plays them too much, and it probably gets him to the point of exhaustion, and we're not getting quality out of him. But that's another point. But apart from that, there's not really. I don't really want to talk really about any of the front row forwards for Parramatta because I don't think any of them are an option.
No, they're not really, and it's going to be pretty apparent for the Eels in common future. Where what happens after these two? For props, really, because they've sort of been, especially Paulo, like he's been on the decline. You sort of want, they had the chance to win the final a couple of years ago, and they didn't. And I feel like that was probably their best shout. That was the best chance to do it with those two, because they're only going down, like they're only going backwards as far as their form, and they're just aging, man. Like it's just not much more you can do with them. And again, he just works the shit out of them every week. So. Yeah, it's a shame too, and it's weird they got like Offahengawi there as well. And think in the last season they played at the Tigers, he killed it. Like I'm pretty sure he was the Tigers Player of the Year, and he was insane for the Tigers that season. I thought it's a cheeky little pickup for the Eels. They might actually be able to play him somewhere good, and he fell off a cliff. So for whatever reason, they're not utilizing him because he does have it in him.
I think he'll be better. I think he'll be better this year. Now he's got the preseason under his belt. He probably gets to understand the playing group a lot more. It would have been hard for him last year coming in. He literally got injured with that calf within the first minute of his game debut for the Eels, so that wouldn't have helped, and it put him back a couple of weeks, and he just sort of never seemed to get back. But I agree. I actually do think he's a sneaky signing for the Eels, and he should take a little bit of minutes off both of these players, which would be ideal, I think, because if we can just have both of those players playing quality 45, maximum maybe 50 minutes, both, then I think that's perfect. I don't want to see him playing 60, 65 minutes and stuff. It's just not good. It's not what we need for him, and they'll be retiring sooner rather than later if they keep that up. Hooker?
That's the problem. Yeah, this is the big thing with the talk of the town, really, when it comes to the Eels. Who gets it? Because Arthur's already come out and said he only wants one. Parramatta hookers.
Brad Arthur only wants one hooker.
He only wants one hooker. He's not selfish. He's fine. But, yeah, is it the hooker with hands or little Joey? I don't know. I hope from a Supercoach perspective, if you can rein it in, mate, it's Joey Lussick. But there's plenty of Parramatta hookers out there to choose from.
The hooker with hands.
You got to pay extra for them in Parramatta.
Oh, goodness me. Yeah, there's not many of them.
You got bloody hooks walking around. Oh, shit. Yeah, no, it's I don't know why he'd come out and say that, to be honest. It's not really, I don't know. He says weird things, that bloke. He's a weird fella.
I think this day and age, more than ever, the two hooker rotation is back in, especially with the way the game's played and the speed of the game and the ruck and how crucial it is getting that ruck momentum. It's just dumb telling people that you're going to have an 80-minute hooker that's basically going to be exhausted for the last 10 minutes of each half and just be, just
target him
there.
Just belt him.
Stupid.
It is. It's stupid.
And to be honest, both of these players aren't 80-minute players either. That's the thing. Like, together as a partnership, it works in a way. Like, I still don't think Joey Lussick's a great option, but we've got him, and as a Para fan, you just got to deal with it now. There's no one else. I wish we still had Marnie here, but that's a different story. Brendan Hands is a great talent. He's still quite young though. Still learning the game, so he can't be playing 80 minutes yet either. So in an ideal world, I'd have Joey Lussick start, get the first 20, 25 minutes out of the way, and then bring Hands on for the rest of it. And just that he's a bit more attacking in my eyes. And
I'd have it the other way around. I just reckon Lussick probably, I would like to see Lussick get more minutes. He does more with it than Hands does. From a statistical point of view, anyway. I don't care about what happens with the Eels in general, man. They could lose every game.
He doesn't offer more than Hands in the hooker role. No way.
Probably not in the real, watching the game out of it. But when you look at the numbers side of things, then I just see numbers, man. And I'm looking at this going, I'm all over Lussick, not Hands. So, again, neither of them really run the ball too much. Lussick tackles a bit more. Hands seems to miss a few more if you're just looking at averages. But, from an Eels perspective, I'd say you'd probably want, the better ball player and the actual better hooker for the team. But I only want points, man. So I want Lussick. But either way, one of the two will be a great option if they do actually get 80 minutes. But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like Lussick could do more with his value if he got 80-minute roles than Hands can. I just don't see too much upside with him.
If it ends up being an 80-minute hooker, whoever it ends up being, you have to have in your Supercoach team. They're both juicy priced.
They're a backup at the best time too. So you don't have to run with them. It's just, obviously, you're plugging a hole for 300K in a hooker spot. That's very, very valuable. And if you wanted to go against the Jaden Brayleys, because he won't be an 80-minute player, if it does come down and one of these two are, you have to have one of them. You find the extra 14K or whatever it is from Brayley to Hands if he gets it, or you save a bit of coin down to Lussick. That's what I'm thinking. So
I agree. That's pretty much it for the Eels. Hopefully we covered that enough for everyone.